Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Wanderer's Library. Again, you've been here many times before. You head to the first wing, the hidden nest, over to King Shash's shelf, back to where you were last time. You spot the book, If You Suck Blood, I'd Be Your Bud, and you know this is where you were last time. Next up, you spot a book, a journal, by Zovar the Great. So you open it up and begin to read. Zovar the Great. Fuck! Zovar the Great slipped for the third time that day, losing his balance and falling to the ground. Of course, it didn't matter much because he was on the moon, but it was annoying as hell nonetheless. Gently floating to the ground, Zovar sat there for a moment, letting the low gravity settle him down. He looked up into space. Fuck. It occurred to Zovar that the vacuum of space prevented anyone from actually hearing him. There really was no point for him to be saying anything at all. Zovar decided that he didn't care. He liked the word. He'd been saying it a lot since he got here. Fuck! You fell on your ass again, master? Fuck off, Maldado. The impassive face of his rock daemon wandered in front of his view. Zovar imagined that the cheeky little bastard was probably smiling on the inside. He couldn't actually smile on the outside since he was a moving pile of rocks, but he swore that the thing could do it anyway, just to spite him. Zovar stood up slowly and unsteadily. Stupid low gravity messing with his balance. How the hell was he supposed to do a good solar empowerment ritual when he couldn't walk properly? Not to mention the fact that nobody had even considered what the sun's movement was like from the moon, which messed up all his measurements. Sighing, Zovar checked to make sure his breathing spell was still working, and decided to give up for the third day in a row. He had to get back to the shop. He wondered why he bothered. People almost never came by. He fell again as he was walking back to the shop. There you go, master. That'll solve the problem. Fuck off, Maldado. Back in the shop, Zovar muttered as he straightened some goods for the 20th time. Oh, sure. It had seemed like a good idea at first. Expand the wizardry shop. We need to penetrate underrepresented markets? Underrepresented markets? How about the moon? Zovar grit his teeth as he readjusted some dried newts hanging from the ceiling. Maybe the moon was underrepresented because no one lived on the fucking moon, Dad. Well, Zovar mused, he supposed he did now. He grit his teeth again, squeezing one of the newts hard enough to crush the thing. A small twinkling sound greeted his ears. As he perked up slightly, Zovar spun around, quickly, letting go of the newt. Whoa, Mom! Zovar wasn't sure how it was possible in a non-human, but this creature somehow managed to pull off looking scruffy. It walked into his shop, oozing a liquid that Zovar decided he didn't want to touch. He pointed a finger at the ground, and a small sparkle shot from his finger out to the ground. The creature looked at him with something that Zovar assumed was its eye. Dude, what did you just do? I cast a spell because I didn't want that slime seeping into the floor. Zovar grit his teeth. He needed to find a good space dentist. Oh, no worries. That stuff's all natural. It's good for you. Wanna try some? The creature raised a quivering tentacle, with some more of the liquid glopping off of it. Zovar recoiled in disgust. I'll pass. Welcome to Zovar, the great mystical emporium, devoted to supplying your every arcane and eldritch needs. Can I help you with anything? Zovar tried his best to look cheerful, but the creature was already looking around, ignoring him. So, you got any continuum transfunctioners around here? My ship broke down, man. Needs a new one. Zovar grit his teeth. No, we do not sell continuum transfunctioners. This is a magical shop, not a mechanic's shop. He drummed his fingers on the countertop. I'd be happy to assist you with some portal spells or teleport scrolls if you wish. Nah, man, it's cool. Man, this stuff is like retro. Cool. The tentacle mass was flailing around some tentacles. Zovar winced. He raised his palm, casting spell on every surface of the shop, just to be safe. It's not retro, sir. It's an array of tools that would help one to channel the limitless power of the arcane arts. Do you do parties, man? Manus would love this stuff, bro. Zovar grit his teeth so hard he could literally hear them grind. No, I do not do parties. The mystical powers I command at my beck and call are not made for parlor tricks. Oh, that's a shame. The creature looked around more. Sure you don't have any continuum transfunctioners? Zovar was tempted to simply cast a bolt of hellfire and obliterate the creature where it stood. He decided against it. Partly because it probably had some stupid immunity to fire, and also because he would probably destroy his entire shop. Why don't you try the automechanic over the far side, all robotic? Oh man, that'll be great, thanks. The creature looked around ponderously for a moment. Zovar simply stared at the thing, wondering why it wouldn't just leave him alone. Sure would be handy to have a continuum transfer. A portal suddenly opened beneath the alien, causing the creature to fall through, with one tentacle still gripping the edge of the portal. Below it, the shrieks of eldritch abominations and long-forgotten monsters greeting it, howling into the small space of the shop. The smell of brimstone and sepences filled the air, poisoning every breath taken and announcing the presence of death. Zovar floated up slightly off the ground, his eyes glowing red. He looked with fury upon the creature, his hands outstretched in front of him. Begone, you foul creature! Join the menagerie of souls I've changed to my command, and feel the grasp of pure terror as you lose your soul to my will. Oh man, I just really want to... Begone! Zovar clapped his hands in front of him, closing the portal and slicing off the lone remaining tentacle. Soon, he was left in the shop, his head pounding, and the detached tentacle flopping around, spraying the slime everywhere. The head of Maldado peeped over the counter of the shop, gazing at the scene. Master, I think you need to rethink your customer service strategy. Fuck off, Maldado. Zovar was floating in the air, meditating in an attempt to relax. The slime had turned out to be extremely acidic, and his spell hadn't completely stopped that. After 4 expletive-laden hours of cleaning, he needed a break. It would all be worth it, soon. He opened his eyes and stood up. He made his way to the back room where he normally stored goods that he ever needed to reshelve, but where his most prized possession lay. In the center of the room lay a small summoning circle with an inky black box on it. He flicked a finger and the box's lid came off. Inside were a few ovular, scaly eggs, each the size of his head. They each possessed different colors, one with the deepest shade of ruby, another with a light shade of cream, and still another with a beautifully textured sapphire. He picked up the ruby one, admiring the way the light shined off the beautiful exterior within it. Maldado came rumbling in through the door. Master. You know what these are, Maldado? Eggs. Zovar held up a finger. Ah, but not just any eggs. These ones are special. I brought these a long time ago, and I've been waiting for them to hatch for quite some time now. What kind of eggs, Master? A very unique magical creature, called a Kimanjo. You see, on Earth, Kimanjo are terrifying, fiery beasts capable of using magic on their own. If they're bound to a sufficiently powerful wizard to hatch them, you have to give it a tremendous amount of heat, somewhere in the range of lava from a planet. Zovar lifted the box, showing a hole in the ground that seemed to go on forever. You see, silly Maldado, I've spent a lot of time and money constructing a tube that reaches just into the mantle of the moon. This will suck up the moon's lava, superheating these eggs and hatching not one, not two, but three nigh unstoppable fiery beasts. That will enable me to conquer the moon's mantle is rock. Zovar paused, looking at Maldado. What? The moon's mantle isn't like the Earth's. It's solid rock for most of it. No lava, Master. But there has to be lava in the... Like 1,000 times deeper than what you have now, maybe. Didn't you pay attention in high school science? Zovar sunk to his knees, quivering. The egg rolled out of his hand. Go ahead, Master. I know you want to say it. Zovar raised his head towards the ceiling, closing his eyes. Having a little chuckle over Zovar the Great and his little antics, you spot another book. Another journal. Some kind of arcane symbols written across the cover. And you open it and begin to read. The Fifth Syllable. A brass bell sat silently on the low table between us. I hated that bell. It was a small and ancient thing, covered with a complex patina of wondrous beauty, but god damn, I absolutely detested it. Across the table, the master spoke a single word, the mystical fifth syllable. K. The bell replied with a beautiful tone, an auditory sunbeam, a cool musical breeze, the acoustic equivalent of a crystal-clear lake. It made me sick. I loathed that sound. For months now, I've been trying to pronounce the fifth syllable, one of the most crucial sounds in the art, but also one of the most difficult. Every morning I woke before the sun and did my chores, cooking, cleaning, walking to the market, whatever the little temple required. Every evening, bleary-eyed and exhausted, I sat across from the master while the accursed little bell mocked me with its silence. The master spoke again, and the bell rang. He looked at me expectantly. I repeated the syllable, just as the master had, and although mine sounded exactly the same as his, the bell did not respond. Again, the master said, K. Again, the bell rang. Again, I repeated after him, and again, the bell did not reply. Month after month, there was no reply. One evening, I was particularly bleary-eyed, particularly exhausted, and very particularly fed up with failure. I dared to complain. Why? I asked. Is the fifth syllable so difficult to pronounce? There must be an easier way. The third syllable has two forms, one difficult and one easy. Isn't this also true for the fifth? The master did not like questions. He paused for a moment, glaring at me in disapproval, and finally responded. It is not so. His hesitation irritated me, and my manners began to slip even further. I cannot believe that, I replied. It does not make sense that something so fundamental to the art would be so complicated. I have to believe that there is an easier way. Perhaps even in your great wisdom you have overlooked something. There was another pause, longer than the last, and another glare, even more disapproving, before the master suddenly changed the subject. Tell me, do they teach geometry in your American schools? The master knew that my doctorate was in mathematics. He was just being a jerk. If he couldn't answer my question, he should have just admitted it. I wanted to punch him in the face, but you don't study the arts without first learning to tolerate abuse. Yes, master, I said politely. I have taken classes in geometry. I have heard that if one measures the distance around a circle, then measures the distance across the circle, then divides these two measurements, one always gets the same number. That is so. The number is called pi. To have such a name as pi, it must be a very important number. It was strange to talk about geometry with an ancient wizard atop a secluded mountain in a distant land, so very far away from the colleges and universities of the mundane world. But it had been a long time since I had taught mathematics, and I had begun to miss it. Thus, I began to lecture on pi. Yes, it is a very important number. Engineers use it when designing buildings, automobiles, and airplanes, and it is needed for navigation and the study of stars. Telecommunication needs it, and even the design of electrical circuits cannot be done properly without the knowledge of pi. He said nothing. In this candlelit place, there was none of these things. No cars, no planes, no cell phones, no spaceships. The master was not impressed. I tried again. Pi turns up over and over in the study of mathematics, even in contexts not related to circles, such as the study of triangles or probability. In many ways, pi is a fundamental number in mathematics. There is a famous equation, e to the I pi plus 1 equals 0, which links 5 important constants. This is not possible without pi. The master nodded. A very important number. He paused. Then, tell me, what is this number? It seems to underlie all of nature. It seems to be a thing of the center. I must assume that it is 4, the number of balance. No, master, it is not 4, it is 3.14. Puzzled, he repeated the digits. Are you sure that's correct? Well, actually, it's more like 3.14159. I did not like being second-guessed. What did a few digits matter to an old man? Ah, he said, but he still did not look satisfied. And there are no more digits. There are more. In fact, there are an infinite number of them, and they never repeat. Pi is a type of number called irrational, a very special type of number. The master scoffed. Special? It seems to me that it is a very inconvenient number. A number as important as this, which underlies all things, should be simpler. Perhaps you have calculated it incorrectly. I was beginning to get very angry. Master, no! I am sure of this. Men have studied pi since the time of ancient Babylon. We have since calculated it more and more accurately, and now it has been proven it is infinitely long, and it never repeats. This may be, but if it is, then I must believe that your mathematics is very poorly made. This pi is central to the whole system, but it cannot even be written down. Shoddy work indeed. At last I became enraged. I had studied mathematics for half my life. I knew what I was talking about. I knew I was right. I shot back at him. Mathematics isn't messed up. It just doesn't matter if pi is inconvenient. Furious now, I was shouting at him. It doesn't matter if you don't like it. It doesn't matter if it fails to align with some half-assed idea of perfection. We couldn't change it if we wanted to. The universe is just that way. He did not respond, and I suddenly realized what I had done. The student does not raise his voice to the master. He was going to send me away, and all my years of pain and frustration would have been for nothing. The master remained still, unblinking for a long time. Just as I was rising to leave, he spoke, softly and slowly. He said, Indeed. The cosmos does not exist for our convenience. He looked away. I will teach you nothing more tonight. As I rose, the master placed the antique bell in my hand. Think on this lesson and practice well. Let there be no further complaints. Relief washed over me. You are very kind, I said, and bowed deeply. As I turned away, I felt a sharp blow on the side of my head. The master had struck me with his stick. I faced him and saw he was smiling broadly. I forgive your anger, but the student must not presume to instruct the teacher. He laughed and waved me away. A few days later, in the place where the master slept, I found a dog-eared copy of David Hilbert's Grundlagen der Geometrie. Inside, as a yellowed piece of paper, in the master's own handwriting, was a 6-line proof of the Riemann hypothesis. I read this. I double-checked it, and in my own way I became enlightened. That sneaky son of a k, I muttered, and somewhere nearby, I heard a faint and very beautiful chime. Excerpt from the journal of Dr. Topias Gideon, Adept of the High Art. Book of 11 Hours, Volume X. Well, the Fifth Syllable certainly was interesting. You now have a little bit more insight into magic. And after finishing that, you spot another journal. You open it up and read into the Journal of the Walk. Very strong. The Journal of the Walk, Wednesday, September 23rd. I was walking for 2 hours today before the change turning came. With a bit of effort, I managed to point myself to the forest. It seems harder to reach this time of year. Maybe it's the changing of the leaves. I was on a small trail, and the light was filtered through the red and orange oak leaves far above me. There were birds singing, and I relaxed a bit. The birds are wiser than men, and know when it's safe to sing. I had gone only several steps before I noticed the signs. There were deep marks in the tree trunks, made by claws and teeth. Spiderwebs big enough to catch deer stretched from tree to tree off the path. I was in the deep woods. I would need to tread carefully until the turning came again. I stayed on the path. My friends in the shadows say the paths are safer and offer some protection from misfortune. I don't know about that, but I know I can run more easily along a beaten path than through the underbrush. I walked slowly for nearly an hour before I heard a low singing up ahead. It sounded like a great beast, like an elephant or a rhinoceros, but different. More human. I considered turning back, but the birds were still singing, and I've never gone wrong in trusting their judgment. I moved forward. There was a man walking along the path towards me. No, a giant. He stood as tall as 2 men, and his grip could have fully encircled my waist. His head was shaggy, and his eyes were mournful. He looked down at me through unwashed bangs. "Will you sit with me?" he asked. I agreed, deciding it was best to be polite. I don't make it a point to annoy strangers, especially powerful ones. He took a dried and salted haunch of venison from his pouch and tore off a piece for me. It was tough, but I hadn't eaten in a day, and took it gratefully. The huge man looked so sad. I asked if he were well. "I am well. I'm very strong," the large man said. I thought he was merely boasting. "Why are you in the deep woods?" I asked. "Aren't you afraid the creatures might try to hurt you?" "No. Some may try, but they have not hurt me. I came here for the monsters. It was many years ago," the large man said. "I was younger then, but I was very strong." I managed to not roll my eyes. The large man sat down on the ground cross-legged. "I was walking through the world, looking to see what I could. I helped people. I could help them because I was strong. One day, I found several houses. In the houses, people lived. They were good people, but they were not as strong as I. I helped them. I stacked firewood for them. I made a bridge. I lifted rocks from their garden. It was good. I was good, because I was strong. I played with the children. I loved them best, and they loved me. I carried them on my shoulders and lifted them to the trees. I was careful to be gentle with them, for I am very strong. When the bandits came, there were many, and they were strong. Not like me, but strong. And many. There were so many." The large man held his hands out wide. "I ran to meet them, for I was strong. I fought them. They stabbed me with swords, but I was strong, and I did not die. I hit them, and they did die. But they were many, and not all were fighting me. When I finished, the village folk were dead. The children were dead. I did not die. I am very strong. I followed the bandits as they left. I fought them again and again. Many died. I did not die. I found where they had lived, and I fought them there. They all died there. I did not die. I looked for other bandits, more powerful bandits. I fought them. They shot me with arrows. They struck me with spears. I did not die. I am very strong. I fought the strongest bandits in the land. Many died. I did not die. I am very strong. There were no bandits left who were strong, so I went to where there was a wicked king. I fought his soldiers. They had guns and cannons, and they shot me. I did not die. I am very strong. I killed the king and all his armies. I was called a hero. I left. I found an ogre. He was strong. He hit me with his club. I did not die. I am very strong. I killed the ogre. I found a dragon. The dragon was strong and had armor and fire to breathe besides. He raked me with his claws and burnt me with his breath. I did not die. I am very strong. I killed the dragon. I found where there were more monsters. I fought the monsters. I did not die. I am very strong. I went to where the monsters came from. I have been here for many years now. I have fought many monsters. I have fought many men. None have killed me. I am very strong. He reached up and took a branch as thick as a horse. He broke it in one hand. I am very strong, he repeated. So very, very strong, and very, very tired. He stopped speaking, and I said nothing for a time. Then I thanked him for his food, and said that I hoped he would rest soon. He smiled sadly back at me, and that was how I left him, sitting by the side of the road. As you reach the end of the journal, you cannot help but feel so terribly for the great giant. He was a good man, you are sure, at least from what he had said. Hopefully, he is able to find rest, or at the very least peace, but that will be the end of your time here, Wonder. Thank you very much for coming. It's been a wonderful time reading with you, and I hope that you have a good time out there in whatever world you come from. So, thank you for coming, Wonder, and good luck.